What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kyle and I am a full-time photographer and cinematographer. Now, in my professional career, I've had the pleasure of working on documentaries, travel films, commercial work, and YouTube video editing. Now, as a user of the Canon R5 for many years, I've definitely put it through its paces in both photo and video. And let's just be clear right off the bat that the Canon R5 Mark II, it's not a revolution, it's more of just an evolution of an already great camera. Canon didn't send me this camera, nor am I getting paid for my opinions on this camera. This is my opinion as a working photographer and filmmaker. One thing that I like to do before I buy a camera, or buy anything really, is watch reviews, see how people like it, what they like about it, get a hands-on kind of feel of what this camera can do for me or what this product can do for me. So that's kind of what I want to touch on in this video as someone who's currently using it, and why this camera would be important for you, or maybe why this camera wouldn't fit your needs. You know, there's so many good cameras out there these days, I feel like you can't really miss, but you can miss on the fact that maybe that camera isn't suited for your particular needs. Now, as someone who does photo and video, I feel like this camera was the perfect option for me. I've been a Canon user for years anyway, but one thing that they're great for is both photo and video. And not to say that other cameras can't do that, but for me, this workflow, I already own all the lenses, I already own all the equipment, I know how to use it. It just kind of made sense for me. But maybe if you're a Sony user or a Fujifilm user, you have a preference that way. They also make great cameras. It's not to say that this is the best camera that you can possibly buy, but for me, it just worked for my particular workflow. Now, I do think it is important to talk about some of the technical aspects of this camera. Now, this is not going to be me reciting the stat sheet of the camera, but more my particular uses and things that I looked for when I was buying this camera. Now, I think something that people really look for when they're buying a camera is the image quality, whether it's the dynamic range, the color science, the skin tones, or the rolling shutter. Another aspect would be low light performance and highlight roll off. Now, I don't think many consumer cameras are gonna compete with Sony in that regard. Their low light performance is some of the best that any consumer camera has. Now, this camera does have a dual base ISO of 800 and 5000. Now, some could argue that that actually maybe is a more usable range of ISO than Sony being 800 and 12,800. You see a lot of people when they're shooting in slightly darker things put their ISO all the way up to 12,800, which looks amazing, but then they have an ND filter on because it's like too bright. So I think that the Canon having, 800 and then 5000 is plenty for my needs. I'm personally not shooting too much in the pitch black where I'm trying to illuminate it to look like daylight. So personally, I don't really find a huge use for it being at 12,800. If anything, I'll put a light on the camera, or I'll just be holding a light off to the side, and I find that that works perfectly fine for me. Now, the one topic that everyone would be talking about and be interested in would be if they fix the overheating issue. And I think that personally, using the Canon R5 for a number of years until getting the R5 Mark II, I definitely faced that issue of overheating, but it wasn't a deal breaker for me at all. It happened occasionally if I was pushing the camera to the absolute limits in an interview outside in the sun for, an hour long. Sure, it would overheat, but I feel like every camera would overheat. I don't know how they wouldn't unless they had like a very designed internal fan system that's going to cool it down. So I would have it overheat in that situation, but it wouldn't just overheat if I was using it on a day-to-day basis, even filming in the 4K fine. So I don't really know that it was an issue for me personally. Of course, I'd rather it didn't happen altogether, but I don't know that any camera would just not ever have overheating happen. I've never really had any issue with the R5 Mark II as of yet. I've been using it for a year. I've shot many interviews and long things where it's been on for a long period of time, and I haven't had any issues. Why this camera fits into my particular workflow really well is partially because of the size, but also because of the versatility. Now, this being a photo and video camera that does both exceptionally well, it makes it a really easy choice to grab out of my bag. Now, if this was just a photo camera, it wouldn't have as much use to me. I kind of need something that works for both. And this camera absolutely is that. It shoots absolutely incredible still images at 45 megapixels, but it also has so much video versatility. Especially if you add a power source, you can shoot up to 8K video. Now, another aspect of versatility is the size. A cinema camera is significantly larger than a DSLR camera. You have the ability to rig this camera out to be the size of a cinema camera, but you can also take it all off and it can just be basically a DSLR camera with a lens on it. It's not going to be a big obtrusive thing to carry around. The other aspect that's good for the size is where you can bring it. So I have no problem bringing this everywhere with me. You're bringing a cinema camera around. People might look at you very strange if you're carrying around this humongous rig. Also, if you're carrying it around all day, it's a lot more work on your body to carry around a cinema rig than it is to carry around a DSLR. I personally travel a lot for my work, but also just in my personal time, and I always bring a camera with me, and I find myself grabbing this camera more often than not because of the fact it does photo and video, but because I don't have to have it rigged up to shoot a documentary. I don't have to have a monitor, a microphone, all of these gadgets and batteries and things like that. I can just have it as a DSLR camera, bring it around, shoot incredible video, shoot incredible photo, put it on a tripod. You don't need to bring a lot of equipment, which makes the versatility a lot better. Being someone that shoots documentaries a lot, sometimes you're in tight spaces, sometimes you need to run alongside somebody, sometimes you're putting yourself in some dangerous positions, and having a smaller camera definitely helps that. Of course, I'm not saying that this camera is better than a cinema camera. You can carry it around a lot easier, and you can get in tighter spaces much more effectively. Now for myself, when I'm making films, I do have it rigged out pretty good. So I have a monitor, sometimes a top handle, a microphone, a battery, a little cage on the bottom. But then let's just say I want to take photos. I just take all that off, go do my photo shoot, put it all back on when I want to do video. Now this is the question that, when I was watching videos, I needed to ask myself, who is this for? Is this going to be a good purchase for me? Do I need this or do I want this? In today's age, there's so many camera reviews and gear reviews and product reviews of things, and it kind of invites the question of consumerism. And for myself, I'm not necessarily in that boat that I think you need something new all the time. You need to get the latest and greatest thing. The camera that I was currently using, I was absolutely beating the crap out of on every shoot. It was in the desert, covered in sand. It was in the ocean, covered in salt and water. It was in freezing cold temperatures, and it worked perfectly fine. After 5 years of doing that, I felt it was time to maybe upgrade my camera. Maybe you don't need to push it that far, but at the same time, I think it's important to use what you have, be the best at using that particular camera before you buy something new. The camera doesn't make you a good videographer or cinematographer. The camera is a tool. It's like a paintbrush for a painter. You can buy the most expensive paintbrush, but it's not going to make you a great painter. If you're worried about getting that paintbrush dirty, you're never going to paint something. If you're worried about getting your camera dirty or getting your camera wet or cold or hot or overheating or putting it in a choice situation, you're never going to get the results that you desire from shooting something. So put it through its paces, see what happens, see what you get out of it. I think there's so many people that are afraid to do that because of the cost associated. But at the end of the day, if you're creating amazing things, you're going to get hired to do more things. Ultimately, you're probably going to make more money doing those things, and buying a new camera won't be as much of a stretch as maybe it was when I first started my career, and I had to save up for a long time to be able to buy it. So get the shots you want, put it through its paces. If you end up breaking it, you end up breaking it, but just know that you're creating the art that you're meant to create. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions. I'll absolutely answer them. At the end of the day, our photography and art that we create should be community-based. We are all in the same boat. We're all doing the same thing. And if I can answer any of your questions, I absolutely will. But I think it is time for me to take Charlie to the bathroom. She is pawing at my leg right now. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every one of you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.